Hello friends, welcome to Gardening with Creekside. I am Jenny, and today we have a fun little project here in the what I call as the forest pansy bed, because we have got a gorgeous forest pansy redbud tree here, and that's how I have deemed this bed. As you know, we have a fantastic working relationship with the folks over there at Walters Gardens. Walters Gardens is basically our supplier of all of our perennials. They are in Zeeland, Michigan. Fantastic folks. They're also the home of all the Proven Winners perennials, but they also have a whole line of perennials that they do themselves. They send us tons of trials throughout the year. So I am constantly getting lots of fun different plants to see how they will do in our North Carolina Zone 7B climate. One of those new plants that I received this year is there's two different kinds. There's two different varieties of pitcher plants. Sarcinia, I think I'm saying that right. So we're just going to refer to it as a pitcher plant. Pitcher plants, if you are not familiar, let me show you. I have them in this fun little pot right here. And so pitcher plants are native plants, definitely here in the Southeast, because my parents have them growing in their property in South Carolina. But they are actually carnivorous plants. It's really fun because, as you see, they have these hoods, and if you can see, there's little openings. And I have it right here beside a nepeta, a catmint, and that, of course, is a huge pollinator attractor. But what happens is the pitcher plants have that little hood, and then it's hollow inside. Gnats, spiders, flies, little bugs will go down in there. They get trapped in their little sticky substance, and the plant actually eats the bugs for its food. So they are clearly very happy. So we are going to take them out of here, repot them. I have 3 of the unique stone cartouche. I think they're called cartouches. One of them is mine, 2 of them are my mama's. So we're going to share with Mimi, and then we are going to take the rest of them and we are going to put them directly into the ground. I'm going to try it. So let me show you and tell you about these fantastic plants, because like I said, there's 2 different varieties in here, and I actually have my phone. I pulled it up to Walter's website so that way I could get all my information correct for you. All right, so the first one is so much fun because it is called Bug Bat. And Bug Bat is the one that is the one in the front, kind of the shorter, wider one. It will get 16 inches tall, and it's really neat because it has cinnamon red hoods that taper down to a chartreuse green. The thing with pitcher plants is you have to keep them constantly wet. So we're going to plant them in a special medium, and then we have in the back the taller ones. Let's see if I can make sure I'm showing it to you. The one right here that is kind of leaning sideways, the taller, skinnier ones, that is Conversation Peace. And we know that this is Conversation Peace because it has those beautiful red, it's very tall, lime green with the red hoods and then the deep red veining on them. These will get 24 inches tall, really fun, and then they have great, gorgeous, fantastic fall color. So that is what we're going to do today. We're going to learn about pitcher plants, how to plant them, and why they might be a fun addition to your garden. So I'm going to get everything set up, and then we're going to unearth these little babies out of this pot, get them in the new pots, and move from there. Okay, so just to give you a little backstory on these plants that we have here, the ones that Walters sent me. So Walters is always very generous, and they send me 5 of a plant. So that way they know as a grower, you know, sometimes you lose some, sometimes the shipping just doesn't work out and they get damaged, whatever. So they always send me 5. And when these came, because they came, it was like early spring, I think, or anyway, it was mid-spring. They were in bad shape. They had a rough time in shipping and were just a hot mess, and were just kind of like, I didn't even know if we were gonna keep anything alive. So whenever I have a plant like that, I'm always like, Mama, help. So my mama, being the master gardener, wonderful gardener that she is, was like, no problem, I've got these. So she has, because she knows pitcher plants and understands them and what they need. So she had this pottery bowl that was meant to be like a serving bowl, but somehow along the way it had gotten cracked. And it had it wasn't like a big, huge crack, but it didn't hold liquids like it was supposed to. So it would slowly leak. And so she says, that's the perfect thing that we're going to use to put these pitcher plants in to make sure that they, start growing and are healthy and happy. Then when you're planting your pitcher plants, because they are a bog plant, they love it wet. If they dry out, they're done. You've got to keep them wet. So according to Walter's website, straight peat moss is the way to go. I didn't have any straight peat moss, so of course Amazon is my friend. So I went to Amazon, I bought 3 bags. At first it was a little overkill, but now I'm glad I have them because I'm going to use it later on. So peat is a wonderful natural substance there's actually peat bogs that are farmed and used. There is a little bit of a problem, a worry that the peat bogs are going to end up disappearing. So different soil companies have been exploring different methods, but you can still buy straight peat. So that is what we are going to plant directly into these containers, nothing but peat. They hate potting soil. So I do not, much as I love my Proven Winners potting soil, I do not want to use that potting soil and fertilizer. They hate fertilizers. So we are going to, which is like, yay, right? They love to be wet. They hate to be fertilized. Makes it a lot easier. So I've got these and we're going to fill these up. Mama, like I said, has 2 of these cartouches that she had gotten from Unique Stone. So I'm going to give her 1 of each, and then we're going to plant 1 up in mine. I am going to try and put them in the ground because I have found that this flower bed stays a lot wetter than I ever imagined that it would. For those of you maybe who are new to gardening with Creekside, this bed has been developed really within the last year, this entire space. In fact, I was going through some of my photos and looking back on the memories and just looking back and seeing everything. And it is crazy how much this space has changed, most definitely within the last 2 years, but even within the last year, it is just crazy. So I'm still learning like my sun environment. How does water flow through here? There is irrigation in here. Trying to figure out what are the wet spots, what are the dry spots, how much water do I need? How much water do I need in the spring versus now that we're in August? So it is a constant, I don't want to say battle because that sounds negative. It's a constant learning curve for me. And I have a spot just right over here that is extremely wet. Even running irrigation for 5 minutes, or if we get rain, it just constantly stays wet. Well, guess what? These babies are going in. So what we're gonna do first is do Mama's, like I said. We're gonna take a bug bat, which I think is so fun. If you do not have a hori-hori, you need a hori-hori, because on one side it's serrated so you can get in there and cut the roots. And then on the other side, it is like a straight edge knife. So if you need to do that. So we're gonna go in here, feel like I'm cutting a piece of pie. There we go. Look at that. Isn't that a beautiful plant? Oh my goodness. All right, now of course I'm gonna make a mess because I didn't realize how big my roots were. So we're gonna take, and I do know that peat will, it does compress really well. So, and then Mama, in an attempt to keep this nice and moist, she has, because you know that she lives underneath pine trees and has tons of shade in her yard. So she also has lots of moss that naturally grows in certain areas. So she had gone around and collected some moss and then used the moss to kind of do as a top dress to help retain the moisture. And they really seem to have liked that a lot. All right. So we've got 1 bug bat in from Mama. Once we get all done, of course, we'll come in here and water really well. And then I think once we're done, also, we'll go harvest some more moss at Mama's house and top dress these, because that'll just not only help retain the moisture, but it'll help it look good. So, all right, Bug bat is done. Oh my gosh, I can hear her squealing and screaming right now. Next is the conversation piece. And I will say, because I think most of you know that Jerry and I just last week, I think it was last week, we were in Michigan and we stopped by to see our friends at Walters. Kata was there and we were walking through the beds and I saw where they had these two plants in a full sun bed there in Michigan. We'll talk about how you're gonna plant them in the landscape, but I had never seen them, you know, full size. And so that was so much fun and really inspired me to come home. And of course, I mean, I check on these because they're right here at the sidewalk, but really to see like how they're doing, and they have grown. They really enjoy this hot, humid weather and are very happy. All right, so conversation piece is most definitely that bigger, taller. Right now it seems like it has more of an open habit than the bug bat, but that's what's so fun is about having them both, is that you get a different look with them in your garden. All right, snug down. Now these respond really well to rainwater, but sometimes, you know, rainwater doesn't, it's not always very predictable now, is it? So I have just been using, you know, just regular water. We are on well water. When I had talked about these earlier in a previous video, somebody who had a lot of experience said, you know, collect your rainwater because they have to, if you're on city water and your pH or your chlorine is really high, they don't like that. So you may just want to think about that if you're not on well water or if you have, you know, some issues with your water. So there we go. Here is conversation piece all done. And then I get to decide, because I have one, which one I'm gonna use in here. And I think I'm gonna do bug bat because when I plant these in the ground, I want them to be really kind of substantial looking, and that will give me 4 of the conversation piece to put together to kind of bulk it up. All right, so I've got the first 3 pitcher plants all planted up into their containers, and they look just fantastic in there. So those are Mama's. I will deliver them to her as soon as I'm done with the video. And then I went ahead and put mine back in the same spot where the first container was, just because it was so happy there, and I want to see how it does here versus compared to where I'm going to put the other ones in the ground. But look at that. I mean, like, once you get them separated, you see how big that individual plant is. So bug bat is definitely right now, might be my favorite because of how it is growing. And then, of course, we're gonna be battling the sun here, folks. The spot that I'm gonna put the rest of them in, you see my shadow, here we go. Working with the sun is gonna be right in this area right here. This is the section that is just so incredibly wet. You see I have my, I'm sorry y'all, I was trying to do this before the sun came up. I have my butterfly bush. This is a pugster. Clearly it is way too wet. Full disclosure, I don't have the energy to dig this one up and replant it somewhere else because I don't know where it's gonna go. So this one is gonna stay just for right now. The irrigation is turned off in this bed because we're getting consistent water. So bug bat is gonna go in this corner right here, and conversation piece is gonna go here in the back. Again, it's just really wet. As a first year figuring all this stuff out, you learn where your dry spots are and your wet spots are, and then you plant accordingly. I find it's easier to move your plants around, like find the plant that is the best for the situation instead of really trying to work really hard to change the situation to fit the plant. Does that make sense? Certainly there are times maybe where it's worth it, where you're going to try to make a wet spot dry or a dry spot wet with irrigation. But the more I do this, the more I'm like, I don't know if I want to fight that, because sometimes it is what it is, and that's what it's going to be. So let's switch our landscaping ideas and our plant selection, because I never thought in a million years that I would be growing pitcher plants right here. But here I am, really wet spot. I have these fantastic perennials. So we're just going to go for it. So I'm going to pull back the mulch. I've got my power planter auger here. I'm using the 5-inch hole on this. The great thing is that I need to go more wide than deep, because the roots on this are not very deep. If you were going to plant this in the ground where maybe you don't have good consistent wet moisture, so what Walters says to do is to actually get a solid container, so like a solid plastic pot, go about 2 inches from the bottom of the pot and drill holes in around the side of it. And then you're going to sink that pot into the ground and then plant the pitcher plants in that container. That's what they did at Walters. That way you're ensuring, did y'all see that? You're ensuring that the ground stays really, really wet. I have clay soil, it's already really wet, and I'm going to amend with the peat. So I'm going to go a little rogue here and try something different. My plants will clearly tell me if they like it or they don't like it, because they'll let me know real soon, and then I can fix it. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so I've got my 2 areas auged, and basically, again, I did not go deep. I just kind of went wide, used the auger to break it up. Very, very wet. And actually, a good thing is I found the irrigation line. So it is running like right, it comes from the other bed right here, right across, and then with both of them. So that's a good thing, and of course that explains why it is super wet. Then I went ahead and added the peat on top. I'm just going to take my hoary and work this in. I know that I am very close to this Pugster White, but knowing that this Pugster White at some point in this season is coming out. So I'm trying to go more towards the Pugster White than the Munchkin, because Munchkin is happy and can stay here. Pugster is coming out. Bugbat will stay in, and I will plant accordingly. I still have plenty of room to come from this side to take the Pugster out and not disturb the Bugbat. So I have 3 Bugbats to put in here. Try to get as much of this great material as I possibly can. They've got great roots on them already, so this is really fun. So I'm just going to kind of lift them up, not take any of that soil off. I don't want to disturb those roots, and I want to nestle them down in there. So since I have 3, I'm thinking like kind of like a little bit of a triangle situation going on here. I think that'll be good. Now this one is huge. It's massive. Oh my goodness. She's a happy little Bugbat. Look at that. And these are cold hardy, so I can leave these in the ground safely for multiple seasons. I don't have to worry about them, and they will hopefully flourish in this spot. Because what a fun little addition, right? I mean, who thought about it? I mean, good gosh, this is fantastic. All right, I'm on top of the irrigation line, I think. Yep. So I'm going to work around that just a little bit. Of course, where I want to put it, the irrigation line. So we're going to go off to the side a little bit here. It is going to be, of course, it's August, right? I think it's hot everywhere. I was trying to get out here and get this video done before the sun came out, or saying sun came up, not out, but came on top of me right here, and I missed it by just a little bit, but that's all right. Now, I did save a little bit of my peat to do a little bit of top dressing. There's mulch in here, and you want to make sure that no matter what plant you're planting, that there's no air pockets. You want to make sure that all the roots have some really good contact with the soil that's around them. Because when the roots are exposed to the air, that's when you're going to run into some problems. So get these babies in here. Oh, so happy, so happy. All right, now I've got 4 of the conversation pieces that are going to go right back here. So we're just going to repeat the exact same process back here with conversation piece as we did with bug bat. All right, my friends, so the pitcher plants are all planted, and I could hear you encouraging me through the video waves, just telling me to go ahead and take that pugster out. So I did, because once I was in there, I was like, you know what, pugster has got to come out. It's gonna look so much better with it being gone, and sure enough, it does. So we have all these sweet little bug bats right here in a group together. I did go ahead and top dress with more of the peat moss. So they are in there nice and happy right on top of the irrigation line. And then right behind them is the conversation piece. Conversation piece, of course, is going to be taller, more red veining, just really nice. I did have 4 of those because I think it's better, since right now they seem to be a little bit on the smaller side. Bug bats seem to be a little bit more vigorous. And then I have that cute little gecko. I think gecko is going to get moved to be like right here. That was from the unique stone order. So cute. Yeah, so anyway, the whole point is, if you didn't know about pitcher plants, maybe you learned something about them now. I will link those pages as far as like with Walters. So if you want some more information, specifically, they have great growing information. So if you get your hands on some pitcher plants, that will tell you all that you need to know. Of course, I'm all about experimenting. That's what gardening is one big science experiment. What works, what doesn't work. If it doesn't work, tweak it, figure it out, problem solve, and move on. So between that, problem solving, and then just opening yourself up to some new and different plants. Again, I never in 1,000 years would have thought I would be planting pitcher plants, especially in this bed, in this location. But clearly they do like it here, because they have been great and successful growing right here. This spot, because I know you're going to ask, gets full sun till about maybe 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And then as the sun goes on the other side of the forest pansy, it does go into the shade. But so lots of sun, consistently wet, that is the key, I believe, for pitcher plants. As always, thanks so much for gardening with Creekside. Y'all have a great day. We'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.